Welcome to the Lose Weight, Live Life podcast. If you're someone who would do anything to lose weight, yet finds it impossible to stick to a diet, to eat less, or just what you think you should, this podcast is for you. I am your host, certified life and weight mindset coach Claire MACKENZIE. Listen in to learn how to stop overeating, lose weight for the last time, and create a relationship with food and yourself that you love, all without diet deprivation and self-sabotage. Hi everyone, and a very warm welcome to the Lose Weight, Live Life podcast, episode number 167. I am so pleased to be sharing this episode with you because today we're diving into a topic that's right at the heart of long-term weight wellness. It's about meeting yourself where you are and doing so with curiosity, not with criticism. So whether you're listening as a private coaching client or a member of the Lose Weight, Live Life Academy or someone new to this community, I'm so glad you're here. And I hope this episode gives you something to reflect on, something that resonates, and most importantly, something that helps. Now, if you've worked with me in any of my programs, you'll know that I talk a lot about the balance pathway. It's the principle I use to guide everything we do inside of the Finding Food Freedom private coaching and the Lose Weight, Live Life Academy and small group programs. The balance pathway gives us a structure and direction, not to get to a destination, but to support us in living a more balanced, empowered life with food and our bodies and ourselves. So let me take a moment to explain what it stands for. So it's the acronym BALANCE, and it stands for Be Curious as you meet yourself where you are, Address how to eat right for you, Learn how to hack your brain, Align your thoughts to serve you, Nurture your emotions, Celebrate yourself for who you are now, and embody living a life you love. Over the next several podcast episodes, I'm going to walk you through each of these in turn. So today we're starting with the very first one, of course, the B. Be curious as you meet yourself where you are. And this is the beginning of everything. When you're ready to make a change, whether that is to lose weight or improve your health or feel more confident in your clothes, it can be so tempting to rush forward, to want to jump into action, to start the new plan, to fix it all right away. But that urge to get going often skips the most important step, which is kind of to take a pause, take a deep breath, and to gently and compassionately meet yourself where you are. And that is what we are exploring in this podcast episode. One of the most important mindset shifts you can make is to understand that weight wellness is not something with a beginning and an end. It's not like you start your journey on Monday and finish it when the scales say a certain number. Weight wellness is something that I encourage you to embrace for life. Your relationship with food, your body, your emotions, your thoughts, it all evolves over time. There will be easier seasons and harder ones. Times when everything clicks and others where it feels like nothing's working, and all of it is part of the journey. When we believe there's a finish line, we get caught in all or nothing thinking. We feel like failures when we slip up. We tell ourselves we need to start again every time life gets in the way. But when we let go of that finish line and instead focus on living well, then we create space for consistency and compassion and growth. And to support your entire experience of weight wellness, we are going to explore today 3 areas, and they are self-acceptance, self-compassion, and self-empowerment. Now, these will help shift you from short-term diet mentality to long-term meaningful change. They can help you build a relationship with yourself that is rooted in trust and not in shame, and is also rooted in support, not in punishment. This isn't about finding more willpower or being more disciplined. It's about creating a fulfilling and sustainable way of living that you actually want to maintain, not just because you have to, but because it feels good and aligned and true to who you are. So let's begin with self-acceptance and how that connects to the idea of being curious as you meet yourself where you are. Self-acceptance is about allowing yourself to be exactly as you are in this moment, without judgment, resistance, or shame. It's not giving up. It's not saying, this is how it will always be. It's simply choosing to start from a place of honesty and care, rather than criticism or urgency. So let's start with considering the idea of detaching your worth from your weight. Detaching your worth from your weight is one of the most transformational shifts you can make on your weight wellness journey. So many women have spent years, most probably decades, believing that their value, their goodness, their lovability, sometimes even their competence, and I know because this has been me, is tied to how they look or what they weigh. And if you can relate to this, I want you to know it's not your fault. These beliefs have been handed down, reinforced by culture, media, family, and sometimes even health professionals. Thinness has been idealized. Larger bodies have been pathologized. We've been told subtly and overtly that smaller means better, better health, more discipline, more success, more deserving. But I really want you to hear this. Your body is not a measure of your worth. Let that sink in. It may sound simple. You may have heard me say it before, but it cuts deep because so many women carry internalized shame about their bodies. Shame that shows up as unworthiness, as self-doubt, as constantly striving to finally be enough or finally be good enough, thinking that we'll finally feel whatever it is we're chasing when we get to a certain size. And the truth is, you are already enough, no matter the number on the scales, no matter your clothes size, exactly as you are, right here, right now, today. When you believe your worth depends on your weight, everything becomes conditional. You'll only feel okay when you've lost weight. Oh my gosh, how many years have I spent in that place? It is horrible. You'll only allow yourself rest, pleasure, celebration, or confidence once you've earned it. That puts your life on hold. And here's the paradox. That belief doesn't help you lose weight. It keeps you stuck in cycles of guilt or all or nothing thinking and or emotional eating. When you detach your worth from your weight, you create the conditions for real change, not change driven by fear or self-loathing, but by care and self-respect. You no longer feel like you need to punish yourself into progress. Who here can relate to that? Punish yourself into progress. I don't want that for any of you. I want you to begin to listen to your body, honor your needs, and nourish yourself in ways that feel good. Not because you're trying to earn your place in the world, but because you know you already belong. You are not your dress size, you are not your calorie count, and you are not your BMI. You are a human being with thoughts and feelings and passions and values and strengths and vulnerabilities and lived experience. You are worthy because you exist, and your body, no matter its shape, size, or how it's changed, is not an apology. Now, embracing this doesn't happen overnight if this is a major shift change for you. It's a practice. You'll still have moments where the old beliefs creep in, but with awareness, you can challenge them. You can ask, is this thought serving me? Is it true? Would I speak to a friend this way? Every time you choose to affirm your inherent worth, especially in moments where you feel far from it, you will be creating a more compassionate, supporting relationship with yourself. And that relationship is the foundation of everything else. So today, I invite you to begin loosening the grip on that old story that you may have. You do not need to lose weight to be valuable. You do not need to change your body to become more deserving. You are already enough. And I want you to start your weight wellness journey from this place. Okay, now, something that often comes up, and I want to address this by considering how we balance self-acceptance with growth, because it may seem contradictory to think of both accepting yourself as you are, whilst also simultaneously wanting to change. And I can relate to that as well. Now, it can be easy to assume that accepting your weight, your habits, your choices, a weight that you're unhappy with, and choices you know may not be healthy, means you are also giving up on yourself. But I want you to know it is absolutely not the case. This is one of the biggest misunderstandings around self-acceptance. We've been conditioned to believe, especially as women, that change must come from dissatisfaction, that the only way to grow is to be unhappy with where we are. But that belief keeps so many women stuck in a cycle of rejection and resistance because we end up believing we need to fix ourselves before we can feel good. True acceptance isn't the opposite of growth. It is the starting point for loving growth. Acceptance means looking at your reality, your current habits, your mindset, your emotional eating patterns, your health, all of those things with honesty and compassion. It means acknowledging your current experience without the harsh judgment or avoidance of it altogether. It is saying, this is where I am. This is what's happening. And that's okay. And from that grounded, present place, you're in the best position to make changes that actually last because you're not running from yourself. You're working with yourself. You're not trying to force transformation from a place of shame or frustration, but you are instead inviting it from a place of curiosity and care. Now, when you fully accept yourself as you are, you stop waiting to live your life. You don't need to reach a certain size, to wear clothes, to feel good, to go out. You don't need to hit a weight goal to enjoy your holidays or take up a hobby or feel confident in a room full of people. And I know, this isn't easy, but you all are allowing yourself to start showing up. I want you to start allowing yourself to showing up from now. And when you do, things will start to change. Okay. At the same time, acceptance doesn't mean you don't care about your well-being or goals. It doesn't mean you're complacent or have given up. Wanting to feel stronger, healthier, more comfortable, more energized is entirely valid. What matters is the reason behind the desire to change. Are you changing because you think you're not good enough? Or are you wanting to change because you care deeply about yourself and want to support your well-being? Change rooted in acceptance tends to be steady, sustainable, and kind. It's less dramatic, less driven by perfectionism, and far more aligned with your values. You start to focus on behaviors, habits, and mindsets, not just numbers or appearances. You make choices that feel good in your body and honor your needs, rather than trying to fit into someone else's expectations. So yes, you can absolutely accept yourself and want to evolve. You can love yourself and want to care for yourself better. These are not opposing ideas. They are two sides of the same coin. Give yourself permission to be proud of who you are now and to work towards who you want to become. This is where sustainable weight wellness truly begins. Now, Carl Rogers, who is a pioneer of humanistic psychology, said something that really captures the essence of self-acceptance. He said, "The curious paradox is that when I accept myself just as I am, then I can change." Now, this, as we said, may feel counterintuitive. We're often taught that if we want to change, we must be dissatisfied with where we are. That discomfort is the driver of progress. But Rogers saw something different and incredibly powerful. He recognized acceptance, not rejection, creates conditions for true transformation. When you're stuck in self-judgment, believing you need to be different before you can feel good about yourself is incredibly difficult to grow from that place. Change becomes a struggle, often rooted in fear or punishment. You feel like you must hustle for your worth. But when you choose to accept yourself, to say, this is me right now and I am worthy, you create emotional safety. You calm the inner critic. You make space to explore, to reflect, to experiment. That's when real change becomes possible. Rogers' insight reminds us that the more we resist who we are, the more we feel stuck. But when we lean into truth and acceptance, we soften. And from that softness, we grow, not because we're trying to become someone different, but because we're becoming more of who we really are. Now, I also want to offer you something about body neutrality, because it is a refreshing alternative to the pressure of, body love. And we must love our bodies, when what we're actually dealing with is the struggle of body shame. For many of us on a weight wellness journey, being told to love your body can feel unrealistic. It's so far away from where we have been because we've just used to maybe having spent years at war with ourselves or with our bodies. Body neutrality is about stepping out of that battle entirely. It invites you to relate to your body with respect and care without requiring affection or admiration. You don't have to feel beautiful every day. You don't have to celebrate every curve or stretch mark. Instead, you get to choose to treat your body with dignity and appreciation for what it does for you, rather than obsessing over how it looks. And this approach can be incredibly freeing. It can allow you to take the focus of constant self-monitoring, mirrors, scales, dress sizes, and invite you to redirect your energy towards living your life. So instead of thinking, do I look thin enough to go to the beach? You ask yourself, what would feel good in my body today? Body neutrality also fosters a more stable foundation for self-care. If your motivation to eat well or move your body is always tied to appearance, then your habits are likely to be inconsistent, especially when results don't come quickly. But when you focus on how you feel more energized, more comfortable, more connected, then your behaviors are more likely to be grounded, consistent, and supportive. And as always, awareness is a key part of this process. By paying attention to your thoughts about your body, you create space between you and your automatic self-judgment. It's really important you recognize them, your thoughts as thoughts. The space there between your automatic self-judgmental thoughts and observing them is where choice lives. You can notice a critical thought without believing it. You can feel discomfort without reacting to it. So, for example, you might catch yourself thinking, I hate how I look in this top. And rather than spiraling into self-criticism, you can pause and ask, what else is true right now? Maybe you're tired. Maybe you're overwhelmed. Maybe you're just having a hard day. Awareness helps you see your body image struggles in context rather than letting them define your worth and take over everything. I also want to say that body neutrality doesn't mean ignoring your body. It means approaching it practically and compassionately. It means choosing clothes that feel good, and it's not just all about flattering it or covering it up. Eating in a way that supports energy and health, not restriction. Moving because it feels good, not to rack up some calories deficit or whatever it is so you can eat more. When you practice body neutrality, your body becomes less of a problem to solve and more of a companion to care for. You begin to make peace with what it is, even if you still have goals or hopes for the future. It's not about loving your body. It's about learning to live well in it, here and now. Okay, so that was all about self-acceptance. Now let's think about self-compassion. We've explored the foundations of self-acceptance, learning to meet yourself where you are with honesty and awareness and neutrality. From that place of acceptance, the next step is to look at how you respond to yourself, especially when things don't go to plan. This is where self-compassion becomes vital. Self-compassion is what allows you to keep going when you've eaten past fullness or reach for food emotionally. It helps you to soften the harsh inner critic and treat yourself with the kind of care and kindness you'd offer to someone you love. Many of us are far more familiar with self-judgment than self-compassion. You might say things to yourself and never dream of saying to another person. And the irony is, while we think criticism motivates us, it usually does the opposite. It keeps us stuck. It fuels shame, and shame disconnects us from ourselves and our goals. Self-judgment sounds like, I have no willpower. Why do I always mess this up? I was doing so well, and now I've ruined it. When you think this way, you're not more likely to make better choices tomorrow. You're more likely to give up, to feel defeated, to emotionally eat because you feel bad about yourself. It's a bit of a cycle. Self-compassion can break that cycle. Now, Dr. Kristen Neff research identifies 3 key components of self-compassion. One is self-kindness. So instead of harsh self-talk, self-kindness means speaking to yourself with care, not in a fake, overly sweet way, but with a genuine understanding. It's like saying, this is hard and I'm struggling and I still deserve kindness. When you practice self-kindness, you give to yourself permission to be human, to have needs, to make mistakes, to learn without berating yourself. The second is common humanity. You are not alone. You are not the only one who has eaten the biscuits or promised you wouldn't. You're not the only one who finds weight loss difficult. You're not broken or lazy or weak. You are just simply human. And struggle is part of the human experience. Struggle can sometimes be part of the weight loss experience. And recognizing this brings relief. It softens isolation. It reconnects you to the wider human experience. And it can help you shift your mindset from what's wrong with me to this is normal and I can work with it. I don't need things to be different. Okay, the third one is mindfulness. Mindfulness within self-compassion means noticing your emotions without getting swept away by them. It's about being present with your experience, acknowledging it without exaggeration, avoidance, or drama. So instead of thinking, I've ruined everything, you might want to say, I overate today. I wonder what was going on for me. That simple shift opens the door to curiosity and change. Now, when you bring all 3 of these together, kindness, common humanity, and mindfulness, you create a new way of relating to yourself, one that is supportive, encouraging, and will help you build consistency. Self-compassion is not soft, it takes strength. It's the resilience to get back up, the wisdom to learn from missteps, and the courage to keep going, even when it's hard. All right. I also want to say a word about the role of self-care in weight wellness, because self-care is one area that is often misunderstood when we come to weight wellness. We often think of it as something you do after the important work is done, a reward, a bubble bath, a beauty treat, but real self-care isn't decorative or indulgent. It is foundational. True self-care is about tending to your physical, emotional, and mental well-being. Not when you've earned it, not as a one-off gesture, but as a daily practice of respect and kindness towards yourself. This means listening to your body and honouring what it needs, not what your inner critic or the diet world tells you it should need. It means learning to pause and ask, what would support me right now? And then actually giving yourself permission to do it. It's taking a break when you want rest or space, not only allowing yourself time off when you're eating. So many women unconsciously use food as their only form of rest. You push yourself all day, say yes to everyone else, keep going because you're telling yourself, in inverted commas, that you should. And then the moment you stop, you eat. Not always because you're hungry, but because you're giving yourself no other form of relief. Self-care means creating that relief in other ways, whether it is a few minutes of quiet, stepping outside, saying no without guilt, or simply breathing deeply before rushing into the next task. It also means looking honestly at what you call a treat. I say that in inverted commas. So often we turn to ultra-processed foods as a form of comfort or reward. But if those foods leave you feeling sluggish, bloated, low in energy or mood, or even just contributing to long-term health challenges, are they really treating you? Self-care is not about restriction or rules. It's not about forcing yourself to eat salad when you'd rather have something warm and comforting. It's about noticing what feels good in your body over time, not just in the moment. It's about choosing foods, rest, movement, and routines that leave you feeling well, not deprived, not overfull, but steady and supported. And it's unique to you. There's no one size fits all. For one person, self-care might be stepping away from their laptop in the afternoon. For someone else, it might be asking for help or setting boundaries or preparing a nourishing breakfast instead of skipping it again. What matters is that you begin to see self-care as a form of commitment to yourself. Not something you do when everything else is finished, but something that becomes the framework for how you move through your day. Self-care is not a luxury. It's how you remind yourself again and again that you matter and that your needs are valid now, not just when you've achieved a goal or met a target. Something else I think is important is around the topic of overcoming diet mentality, and we can relate this to embracing self-compassion in a number of ways. To truly live with compassion, you must begin to recognize and gently dismantle the diet mentality, the collection of beliefs and habits that keep you stuck in cycles of guilt, restriction, and starting again. Diet mentality often masquerades as discipline or motivation, but more often than not, it's rooted in shame, fear, and the idea that your worth is conditional on your weight or eating habits. And when you're living under the rules of diet mentality, self-compassion might end up even feeling indulgent or even dangerous. Okay, so let's look at some of the most common ways that diet mentality shows up. So number one is all or nothing thinking. You might know this one well. It's, I've blown it now, I may as well finish the biscuits and start again on Monday. This kind of thinking, really normal, really typical, really common. But this kind of thinking leaves no room for nuance, no space for kindness or curiosity. It creates a rigid line between being good, in inverted commas, and being bad, in inverted commas, which almost always ends with guilt and emotional eating. Self-compassion invites a different approach. It allows you to see eating a few biscuits as just that, eating a few biscuits. no drama, no moral judgment. You can pause, ask yourself what you need, and make your next choice from care rather than punishment. Also, moralizing food. Labeling food as good or bad often leads to labeling yourself as good or bad based on what you eat. It reinforces the belief that your food choices reflect your value. But food is food. Yes, different foods affect your body differently, and some may support your energy or digestion more than others, but none of them make you a better or worse person. Self-compassion helps you approach food from a place of nourishment and balance rather than judgment or shame. And we kind of alluded to it earlier, the start over on Monday mentality. This mindset delays progress and disconnects you from your body in the present. When you're always waiting for the next clean slate, you miss the opportunity to learn from the current experience. Compassion allows you to reset at any moment, not just on Mondays, not just tomorrow, or on the first day of the month. You can always reconnect with your intentions in any moment. You are never off track. You are always just living and learning. So at the heart of breaking free from diet mentality is replacing judgment with curiosity. It is asking yourself, why did I feel the urge to eat that? What emotion was I trying to soothe? Was I tired, lonely, stressed, or overwhelmed? When you get curious, you gain insight. You start to understand your patterns, and that understanding opens the door to make intentional, empowered choices. Self-compassion is not a reward for getting it right. It's the fuel that helps you keep showing up, even when things are messy. The more you practice it, the easier it becomes to respond to yourself with patience and perspective, not punishment. And the final area that we're discovering and talking about today is self-empowerment. This is about taking ownership of your journey. So just to recap, so far we've looked at the importance of accepting where you are and treating yourself with compassion as you navigate the ups and downs. Now we are moving into the third and final area, self-empowerment. Self-empowerment is about stepping into your own authority, choosing to live your weight wellness journey on your terms with clarity and intention and a sense of inner strength. It's recognizing that you have the power to shape your experience, not by following rigid rules or outsourcing decisions to external plans, but by tuning inwards and leading yourself with confidence. And we're going to continue where we left off a moment ago and revisit diet mentality from a place of empowerment. So diet mentality keeps you stuck in a cycle of dependence on plans, on rules, on what someone else says you should be eating, doing, weighing even. It fosters all or nothing thinking, encourages guilt and shame, and reinforces the belief that you're either succeeding or failing, on track or off track, good or bad, all the things. When you operate from this mindset, your worth and progress feel fragile. A weekend away or an unexpected emotional moment can send everything off course. You constantly feel like you're starting again, never fully trusting yourself to just be well. And you start to think, maybe I have to change my life in order to change my relationship with food. And we never really need to do that. Letting go of diet mentality is empowering because it hands the reins back to you. You stop needing permission to eat when you're hungry. You stop thinking you've failed because you ate dessert. You stop measuring success by the number on the scale alone. And instead, you begin making choices that come from alignment with your values and your goals and your health, not from the place of fear, shame, or any other pressure. It makes your journey more sustainable because it's no longer tied to temporary fixes or short-term results. You are building habits that reflect the way you want to live, not just the way you want to look. And in doing so, you will be building trust with yourself. All right. Which leads me to talk to you about something else, which is the idea of the growth mindset. All right. The growth mindset, as coined by the psychologist Dweck, is the belief that your abilities, skills, and behaviors are not fixed. They can change and improve with effort and learning and time. And this is so important when it comes to changing our relationship with food. When you apply the growth mindset concept to weight wellness, everything shifts. You no longer see yourself as someone who can just stick to it or can stick to it for 2 weeks, but not really any longer than that. Instead, you begin to view every challenge as a chance to learn. Growth mindset thinking looks like that meal didn't go as I'd hoped. What can I take from it? Or I've noticed I always overeat in the evenings. What can I try differently tomorrow? Also, just recognizing when things don't go to plan, it isn't failure, it's feedback. When you have a growth mindset, you get to drop the perfectionism. You stop expecting yourself to follow an unbroken streak of good days, and most importantly, it keeps you moving forward. You're not starting over, you're building, layering, evolving. I often think the weight wellness journey is peeling back so many different layers of ourselves. A growth mindset is particularly powerful when you're experimenting with new habits like pausing before emotionally eating, or trying to move your body more regularly, or just navigating weekends differently. A growth mindset gives you the emotional flexibility to be imperfect and to keep going. Self-empowerment isn't about getting it all right all of the time. It's about learning to lead yourself through the process. It's owning your choices, embracing your agency, and trusting that you are fully capable of creating the relationship with food, your body, and your life that you desire, that you want. Okay. One more thing, mindfulness. Another powerful tool when it comes to creating a sustainable and empowering relationship with food, your body, and yourself. At its core, mindfulness is the practice of bringing your full attention to the present moment without judgment. It means slowing down just enough to notice what's really going on, internally and externally, and responding intentionally rather than reacting automatically. So many of our eating habits are formed on autopilot. You might eat because the clock says it's lunchtime, because the TV is on, because others around you are eating, or simply because that's what you've always done. You might find yourself finishing food you didn't particularly enjoy, or eating when you're not hungry because you haven't tuned in to what your body is asking for. Mindfulness invites you to pause. It asks you to check in with yourself. What's happening in your body, your thoughts, your emotions? Are you hungry or just stressed? Are you tired or bored or overwhelmed? What would be truly nourishing for me right now? By practicing present moment awareness, you start to make more aligned choices that reflect your values and your goals, not habits driven by impulse or emotion or just prior experience. You begin to eat in response to physical hunger rather than emotional discomfort. You notice satisfaction and fullness. You become more intentional in how you care for yourself, both in how you eat and in how you live. And it goes beyond food. Mindfulness helps you tune into your body's signals across the board, whether your body is asking for rest, movement, hydration, or connection. It helps you navigate stress without immediately numbing or distracting yourself from it. And this doesn't require hours of meditation. It starts with a single deep breath, a pause, a moment of awareness in the middle of the day when you ask, what do I need? What would support me right now? Mindfulness gives you access to your inner wisdom. It allows you to lead yourself from presence, not programming. And that's where empowerment begins. Okay, something else I want to mention as well. I want to talk about intrinsic motivation. The internal drive to take care of yourself because it feels good, because it aligns with your values, and because it enhances your quality of life. External motivators like a target weight, a holiday, a number on a scale, or pressure to fit into certain clothes can be effective in the short term, but they often lose their pull, especially when results don't come quickly or when life gets in the way. And even worse than that, sometimes they disconnect you from your body and undermine your self-trust. Intrinsic motivation, on the other hand, is about asking, how do I want to feel in my body? What kind of life do I want to live? What choices make me feel most like myself? What choices make me feel calm or strong or energized or grounded? When your motivation is internal, you're no longer relying on willpower. You're acting from a deeper place of self-respect. You begin to make choices not out of guilt or fear, but from a desire to care for yourself in meaningful ways. This is where the strengths-based approach comes in. Instead of focusing on what's not working, Could be your cravings, your lack of consistency, your past struggles. You are instead beginning to look at what is working. What strengths do you already have that can support your weight wellness goals? Maybe you're resilient or resourceful. Maybe you're great at planning. Maybe you thrive on structure. Maybe you actually love healthy, delicious foods. Maybe you have a deep capacity for empathy, which you can turn inward as self-compassion. These qualities, when they are acknowledged and used intentionally, become powerful tools for change. This isn't about becoming someone else, it's about becoming more of who you are and using your natural strengths to create a way of living that feels aligned and lasting. Okay, thinking positively. Positive psychology researcher Barbara Fredrickson introduced the broaden and build theory, which explains how positive emotions don't just feel good in the moment, they actually help us beyond that. They expand our thinking, deepen our resilience, and build lasting psychological and emotional resources. Now, this is incredibly relevant to weight wellness. Most people assume that discipline, control, and pushing through discomfort are the key to success. No. When your journey is built around restriction and self-criticism, it becomes joyless and draining and unsustainable. You might start with motivation, but if your emotional state is dominated by frustration, guilt, or anxiety, it will be hard to stay consistent and even harder to feel good while doing it. Positive emotions, on the other hand, create space. They help you think more clearly, make more intentional decisions, and feel more connected to your future self. When you're feeling curious and hopeful and proud or content, you're far more likely to make choices that support your well-being, not because you should, but because you want to. And here's the beautiful part. You don't need to wait for weight loss to access these emotions. In fact, fostering them now, right now, will help you create the momentum and energy that supports your progress. So start by cultivating gratitude for your body, your efforts, and the small wins along the way. Feel pride in your consistency, your awareness, your decision to keep showing up. Lean into joy by moving in ways that feel good, by eating meals that are both nourishing and satisfying, and through creating moments of pleasure that have nothing to do with food. Even self-appreciation, noticing what you're doing well, how you're growing, how you're showing up differently can make a huge difference. These emotions don't just feel nice, they change your brain. They broaden your thinking, help you build internal resources, all of which will contribute to long-term success. Also, positive emotions don't mean ignoring the hard moments, but they remind you there's more to the journey than the struggle, and the more you nurture them, the more energized, motivated, and empowered you'll feel, not just to lose weight, but to live well. One way to embrace this approach is through the concept of strategic byproducts. This is something that entrepreneur and coach Dan Sullivan talks about, probably with business in mind, but it works equally well when it comes to weight wellness. Strategic byproducts are the outcomes you create when you pursue a meaningful goal, even if that specific outcome wasn't your original focus. So you might want to consider that. Rather than chasing weight loss directly, which often leads to short-term changes and longer-term frustration, you focus on something deeper. Personal growth, energy, confidence, emotional well-being, physical well-being, whatever it is. And as a result of that focus, weight loss, or whatever physical outcome you desire, becomes a natural byproduct. When you prioritize things like feeling more energized, having better mental clarity, or enjoying a more peaceful relationship with food, you're more likely to move your body, eat foods that nourish you, manage stress, and get better sleep. And those habits over time may absolutely influence your weight. But you're not forcing the outcome, you're creating the conditions for it through aligned action. And the power of this approach is that it keeps you engaged regardless of what the scales say. You still win, you're still making progress, you still feel better in your body and in your life. And most importantly, you're not attaching your worth or your effort to a single number. So ask yourself this question: what would I pursue if weight loss weren't the goal, but just a bonus outcome? Maybe it is strength, calm, balance, peace, presence, energy, confidence. Let that be your goal. weight wellness can follow, not because you forced it, but because you built a life that naturally supports it. Okay. I also want you to consider starting with the end in mind. When it comes to weight wellness, many of you set goals that are entirely focused on numbers. I did it myself for decades. Now, whether that's a target weight, a certain dress size, or a milestone like fitting into old clothes. And whilst those goals might feel motivating at first, they rarely sustain long-term change, because the truth is weight alone doesn't determine how you feel day to day. You can reach a number on the scales and still struggle with emotional eating, still feel disconnected from your body, and still be stuck in the same old thought patterns. That's why I encourage you to start with the end in mind, but not the end society tells you to focus on, not the number, not the size, not the shape. The real end. How do I want to feel in my life? How do I want to think about food and movement and rest? What kind of relationship do I want to have with myself? And from there, create a clear, compassionate vision of your future self, the version of you who lives in alignment with your values, who feels calm and empowered around food, who honors their body without obsessing over it. What does she believe about herself? What choices does she make? Not because she has to, but because they feel good. How does she respond when life gets stressful or when things don't go to plan? This kind of future self work isn't fantasy, it's a guide. It helps you clarify what matters to you and it allows you to begin living those values now. You don't need to wait until you've lost weight to start showing up as her, as future you. In fact, the more you act from that identity now, the more naturally you'll move towards the habits and mindset that create lasting change. So ask yourself, what would my future self do today? And then take one small step in that direction. Okay, so I covered a lot there. So many of those topics as well, I just want you to know we really dive deeper into in the Lose Weight, Live Life programs. And when I talk about losing weight and living life, it's both simultaneously. It's not the idea if you lose weight and then you can live your life. What I'm saying, and it's really reflected in this episode, is if you live your life, it's easier to lose your weight. All right. So let's just recap then. We started by looking at the idea that weight wellness is not a start and finish process. It's a lifelong relationship. And at the heart of that relationship is your ability to meet yourself where you are with curiosity, care, and compassion. That's why I use the balanced pathway as a guiding framework throughout my coaching and in the Lose Weight, Live Life programs. And today, as I mentioned, we focused on the very first step of that pathway. Be curious as you meet yourself where you are. We explored 3 key areas that support that process: self-acceptance, self-compassion, and self-empowerment. I invite you to carry these ideas with you that we've covered today. I want you to reflect, be curious, check in with how you speak to yourself, and take even the smallest step from a place of care and trust. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to keep showing up. And I want you to remember, you are already worthy. You are already enough. And let your journey begin from that point, from knowing that. And also, I want to invite you, if you would like support with your weight wellness, there are a few things that you might be interested in. Firstly, I've got a limited number of private coaching spaces opening up in May. If you're looking for personalized support to help you feel healthier, more confident, more at ease with food and your body, this could be a great next step for you. Whether you are navigating emotional eating or working on mindset or building sustainable habits, private coaching gives you one-to-one support tailored completely to you. If you're interested in that, you can find out more. Go to www.thebestyou.coach/coaching. You'll find out more about private coaching there. And you can go to that page and you can book a time with me and we can chat about you and your relationship with food and what you would love to be different. Also, I'm running a one-off workshop online on Tuesday, the 29th of April at 7 p.m. in collaboration with Wellbeing International Limited. It is called Personalize Your Approach to Eating Well, and I will teach you my flexible food framework process so that you can walk away with clarity and confidence around your food decisions. Make it far easier for you to know how you want to be eating. Also, if you're a former member of the Lose Weight, Live Life Academy, I'd love to welcome you back. This month, April, we're diving deep into the theme of what is healthy for you. We are cutting through a whole load of diet noise and misinformation that has been given to us about various food groups for decades. And we are going to reconnect with the latest research so that you can consider what feels right in your body. I feel so frustrated with all the wrong healthy food advice out there that I have created these new classes. And I think they're so important. I want to open them up to former members. So if you've been thinking about returning, now is the perfect time to rejoin us and reconnect with the Lose Weight, Live Life Academy community. And if you're not a former member, but you're curious about the Academy, then I think that our next opening will be in May. So look out for that. But ultimately, whatever level of support you're looking for, whether it's one-to-one coaching, a deep dive workshop, or ongoing guidance and community, then there is something here for you. As I said before, you can find out more at www.thebestyou.coach, or feel free to email me at support@weightwhispering.com. And if you enjoyed this episode, I'd love for you to take a moment to support the podcast. It will really help others find it too. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please scroll down on the main show page to leave a rating and review. Tap the stars, and if you've got a moment, I'd love you to write a few words about what you're enjoying. If you're on Spotify, just head to the main podcast page and tap the star rating at the top and give the show a quick review there. And if you're watching or listening on YouTube, please go to the video. Please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so that you don't miss future episodes. Your support really does make a difference. It helps the podcast reach more women who want to create a kinder, more empowered relationship with food and their body, just like you. Thank you for being here.
If you enjoyed listening to this podcast and are ready to live a more intentional life, lose weight as a part of that journey, and create a relationship with food and yourself that you love, then I would be honoured to have you join the Lose Weight, Live Life Academy membership and coach with me. The programme offers different levels of support to suit you, including self-paced learning, twice weekly calls, private coaching, an amazingly caring community, and lots more. Find out all the details about when and how you can join at www.thebestyou.coach/coaching.